I'm kind of puzzled by this, but I do want to say that I'm glad we're having this debate in the Dáil, and I don't think we'd be having it were it not for the SAs themselves and those of them who got themselves organised into the union and began to push this and make it an issue, and have had webinar meetings with us in the COVID time. We wouldn't be discussing this in the way that we are. I think it's really important that we're honest with each other about this. I personally couldn't do this job without the secretarial staff. I couldn't do it. And what's my salary now? 92 or whatever thousand is. I'm not banging on about it. I don't take the full salary. We take the average industrial wage and put rest of the money away into a campaigning account. But having said that, there's still, even at that, a huge difference between my earnings and those of the staff that I would be lost without. I go out of my skull. I couldn't do this job without them. And very often they're in the background measuring exactly what does Bríd need to know today, what does Bríd need to handle because she has this meeting, that meeting, she has to speak to several things, she's in committee on climate or the committee with the travelling community. She doesn't need to know that all this is coming at her in the office. And while they're dealing with complex problems that people have just accessing their rights in this state, whether it's social welfare or medical cards or HSE appointments or access for their children to proper care, while they're dealing with those very human and difficult conditions, either in the local office or over the phone, I'm protected, I'm inured from that at the time that it is happening. They do it in my good name, that's what I'm elected for, but they're actually a vital link to the community supports that we can provide as TDs. By the way, we shouldn't have to provide these things. If people have rights, those rights should be met as stated by the entitlements that they have, as the things I've listed, whether it's social protection or health or education. They're rights that people should have. But often in this society, we have to go and help people to fight for those rights, to have them attained. And it is the secretarial assistants that beaver away, doing that in a sympathetic, compassionate and quiet manner, and are often the ones that I get the most compliments from what we do, having been elected to this office. It is, the Connors, the Leahs, the Jackies of this world that people really feel are the face of compassion. They deliver, they fight for issues, and they get the results that are required. They don't always get the results, but they very frequently get the results that people themselves can't manage to get because the state has made it so cumbersome on them. So I think this is actually, quite frankly, embarrassing that we have to talk about this, that low pay that put Leah Spate, when she started as a secretarial assistant for me, on the rate that she was entitled to the working family payment, what was FIS, the family income support. She was entitled to claim that because her pay was so low, and yet tirelessly she was fighting for other people to achieve their social welfare entitlements on an hourly basis, on a daily basis, as is Conor in the office now. And I don't mind naming them because I'm very proud of them. They're members of People Before Profit, they're politically conscious people, and they're fighting to try and change the society we're in. On buttons, on absolute buttons. It is so embarrassing that they're being treated like this. I was a shop steward that represented people working in a trade union, ironically, over 20 years ago. And we looked at our pay scales and said, this is awful, because again, we were at the coalface of workers ringing the office and saying, I'm about to be sacked, or they didn't pay my overtime, or what do I do? They're making me work tomorrow when I'm supposed to be off. And we would be taking these queries, dealing with them, passing them on to the officials, and then discovering the officials were on sometimes 8 and 10 times our salary. So we did an analogue study of what was a comparison between various trade unions. We compared ours with SIPTU, with Unite, with Forza, with all the unions, and we looked, and out of that we got a very intelligent claim for why our wages should be put up, and we went to the Labour Court, made that intelligent claim, and we won our pay claim. I was thinking about that. How do you analogue the secretarial assistants of TDs? There is nothing compares to them. You could sing a song about it, but there is nothing compares to them. So I can't go around other organisations and saying, how does your job compare to the job that our secretarial assistants do for us? That there isn't a comparator. And so this is really a case of injustice and discrimination and needs to be addressed. And therefore, I don't understand, except to say that it occurred to me that maybe there's a cultural and traditional and historical reason why they're paid so low. That once upon a time there were just a lady, usually a woman, in the local constituency that made the cup of tea and typed up a few letters and did the accounts at the end of the year. Nowadays, everybody is always connected, whether it's through the emails, the phone, the Facebook, the WhatsApp. We are always connected, and productivity levels for all of us have gone up. No matter where you're working or what you're doing, productivity levels have gone up hugely substantially to what they traditionally have been. So this job needs to be reassessed and needs to be looked at in the cold reality of what does it mean. And for that, I think we need a proper consultation process with those who carry out the function, and that should come back again to you, Minister, because at the end of the day you hold the purse strings, to really reassess it in the cold eye today. Why do we have people on family income support who are working their guts out to protect other people who can't either get family income support or their medical card or access to assessment for their child? There's so many problems out there in society, and just to repeat, our secretarial assistants are always on. There's always connectivity, there's always a way of reaching them, and they always have loads of issues that they have to pick up. And I know that every single one of us would be lost without them. In many ways, they're heroes, but they're not being recognised financially as that. And I'm sorry, but they can't continue to live on low pay. We're not going to be able to recruit the type of staff we need to perform the function of Choctadollies or senators or whatever we do in the public face unless we recognise that these are valued workers, that their input is valued, that their compassion, their understanding, the pile-on that they take from the rest of society on a daily, on an hourly basis, that has to be recognised. And I think, Minister, we need a serious look at it. There may be cultural, historical, negative reasons for it, but it's not fitting for 2021, never mind 2022 and beyond.
Thank you, Deputy Smith. Deputy Dread Nash, please.